All right, everybody. Welcome back to Disputed, presented by Bench Talk. It has been way too long. It's been like 2 months, but we haven't had a numbered card. But finally, we are back. Dana decided to bless us, give us a numbered card, the BMF belt, the fight to remain relevant. And I'm here with my co-host that's keeping us relevant. Joey, how you doing?
How's it going, guys? I'm so happy to be back. It's felt like a very long time I've been lost without this. However, it's been very good because the first two episodes were back to back, and they were like the first one was like 3 days after I got my wisdom teeth out, and the next one I was still recovering from that. So it was really hard actually. So I'm glad to finally be here and not be like either drugged up or injured.
Yeah, I mean the first episode too. People don't know, but we filmed that at like 4 in the morning. So like I also was like halfway dead
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, no, that was it was well because originally we were supposed to record at 8, and then I guess I don't know what happened. Just you
Yeah,
got held up in traffic,
that
but
was
we
that was
just
my fault. Yeah,
yeah,
that was
that's
my fault
okay.
that it was so late. So I'm not complaining, but this is a normal time. We got the energy. No more external injuries. They're trying to keep us down. But we're here.
They can't keep us down. Nobody can keep us down. We are on top, disregarding what happened the previous card because my parlay did not hit. But we're 1-1. So how can they? How can you say we're down when we're basically at 500 right now? So you really can't. I think this is we're on the up and up, and I can assure you this time is going to be much different.
You know who else started down but then came up?
Who's that?
Sam Darnold. And look at Sam Darnold
That
now.
is right. Sam Darnold did. He. You know what? He started down. But like in fairness, right? There's nothing that original team that drafted him could have done about that, and I don't think there's any blame on that original team. He was just he himself was down, and it had nothing to do with the organization that he was previously a part of. But I'm very happy for Sam Darnold that he went and won a Super Bowl with his what was that fourth team? That was the fourth team he went to.
Something like that. He's had a little bit of a journey, but he's there now, and that's kind of just like the disputed pod. We're on a journey to go to the Super Bowl.
No, but we are on a journey to win you money. That is the whole point. We're on a journey to win you money and win you friends. We want you to be able to be in your living room with all your friends and to be like that guy's going to kick him. And then he kicks him and everybody loves you. You get the girl that you invited over. She barely said yes, but she came over. Whether she wanted the drinks, whether she wanted the free food, it doesn't matter, okay? Saw what you just did, and now she's got all these questions for you. What do you know what they're about to do? Is he about to go for a takedown? Why are they sitting on the ground like that? Are they hugging? Are they kissing? No. And stop asking that question. I don't like getting that question. So we're gonna do a little bit. We're gonna help you guys a little bit out with that.
Yeah,
But
and
before we get into it, just to recap, because it was so long ago, so we're not gonna do the whole card like we did last time. UFC 325, Alexander Volkanovski. I think it's arguable he is now the featherweight goat. Was the win impressive? No. At least it wasn't over an impressive opponent. However, he still went out there and he did that thing. So I think it's pretty hard to argue that he has not kind of surpassed the Jose Aldo, who was really the only one in contention at 145 for the actual GOAT of the division. You can argue things like, well, Conor McGregor would have been. Well, Conor McGregor's not here. And by the way, sorry to
hold
just
on, I was gonna get there. No, I was gonna
yeah,
get
let's
there.
get there in a minute. Let's get there in a minute, but we'll save that for a minute later. Alexander Volkanovski, congratulations. You are an amazing fighter. You will go down in the history books. You're absolutely a Hall of Fame. You're already a shoe-in for the Hall of Fame, and my personal featherweight goat.
Yeah, and if you watch the last pod, like Joey said, take it from two guys sitting in their rooms right now alone. We're gonna help you get friends, get the girl you want, and if you watch the last pod, you will 100% know that there was no way that I took Diego Lopez to beat Volkanovski because I believed that Volkanovski Volkanovski is the GOAT. You know, he's in Australia, the land down under. Like he walked out to that song. You know,
He does. That is his song.
that was
Land
you know
Down
that was my impression of what Volk probably sounded like before he went out. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So take it that way. We are gonna talk about UFC 326, and we are going to expertly predict. You know what's gonna happen. But before that, this is way bigger than UFC 326, and I know we're gonna say hold it off for a minute, but this was one of the things I was most excited to talk about. The actual featherweight goat, Conor McGregor, is coming back to the UFC.
So this is perfect because this is exactly what I wanted to say. I have said it for 5 years now. It's been 5 years since 2021 when he broke his leg. Conor McGregor will not touch the inside of an octagon ever again. I don't care if it's as a fighter, as a coach, as a cut man, as a ref, as the guy who wants to go in and sweep the octagon after. He's never touching the inside of an octagon again. He got scheduled versus Michael Chandler in 2023. I said that fight was not going to happen. I wish we had disputed around when that happened, but because I would have looked like a genius. But I said it then. He is not coming back. It's not happening. There's just no way. For one, I believe he's still suspended, whether that is by the UFC or by whatever anti-doping agency that the UFC is currently partnered with, which I really don't know how that works now that USADA's gone. It's a bunch of politics and stuff we're not going to get into. But I believe Conor still is not even allowed to fight. But listen, they're saying, oh, in July, I saw something on X the other day. Conor McGregor versus Islam Makhachev is the biggest fight the UFC can make. Who cares? Who cares? Why does anybody care about Conor McGregor right now? He's washed, okay? He's washed, he's done. Two, he has expressed that he wants to go and do other things. Let him go do other things. And now, yes, he comes back and he says, okay, I'm gearing up, I want to fight. But if you've been a fan, at least since the pandemic era, you know he's said it a million times. Yes, he did. Okay, he came back January 2020, technically pandemic era, not really. And then he came back later in 2021. But my point is that wasn't the Conor McGregor that came back. We want to see this Irishman full of charisma and full of spunk, and he's gonna say whatever he wants. I'll stomp on your hell, you unconscious. That kind of stuff. That guy is not that. It's not this guy. It's the same Jim Carrey. You see this thing about Jim Carrey at the
I have. They think he's a clone.
Whatever stupid Hollywood thing that he was just at. It's a fake. It's not him. It's not the same guy. I would be shocked if Conor McGregor comes back. What do you think?
I'll say this. Now, and I want to get your opinion on this. You know, again, this is the real hard hitting questions that I'm gonna bring to you today on the pod. What if we brought we kick out one of the early prelim guys? I mean, who's watching that anyway? Well, I do have. We'll get to it because I have an exciting conversation to have about the prelims. Actually, I just want to have one thing, but there's a couple guys there that are we watching? No. Do we care? No. Are they ever going to be relevant in the UFC? No.
Maybe.
What if we brought the Unk fight into the early prelims and we bring the two most washed guys who can just shit talk? I'm talking, give me Jake Paul and Conor McGregor in the Unk fight in the prelims, Or give me Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. And just actually they make them sign the contract too, so no exhibition crap. I want them in there fighting they need a paycheck, And they might need a paycheck.
Well, two of those people are boxers, and boxers are scared of MMA fighters. It's a tale as old as time. Yeah, come fight.
Okay, get Chael Sonnen in.
Pillow-sized gloves, and you know what? You are only allowed to hug me, and you know what? We'll kiss each other on the cheek from time to time, and no, it's come on. What do we do? Boxing is a sport.
Okay, well, how about this? What do we throw Chael Sonnen in? Give me Rashad Evans.
We need to address this. Chael.
I know. I just wanted to see your reaction because you said it last time too, and I wanted to see your reaction.
I'm going to keep correcting you. That's the GOAT. That's the 58-0 undisputed. Like he's where the name of the show comes from. Undefeated, undisputed. I can't be as good as him, so that's why I am disputed. You dispute me all the time. That's kind of the point. But okay, anyway, listen. I would love if the UFC was like did gimmick fights. I will admit I am a sucker for gimmick fights. I don't think there's any wrong. We were doing it with CM Punk. Now CM Punk said that he was a real UFC fighter. No, CM Punk blew. I would be totally down for like Jake Paul or like if we did like Jake Paul versus KSI on a UFC prelim. I think that would be awesome. For one, it draws in more attention. But two, let's bring them out of boxing. We have a really hard problem right now with MMA. Zuffa boxing, I think, was just something that was announced from Dana White because he's got all these different deals going on with I don't know if it's UAE or whatever Middle Eastern country that he is having his dealings with right now. Maybe Saudi Arabia, I don't know. We're losing the plot. All right, MMA became mainstream during the pandemic. And ever since then, we're like an actual sport. Like it used to be the UFC. Everybody thought, oh, so you do like I did jujitsu. And whenever I was asked about it, oh, you do UFC? Like that's silly. Like that's a crazy thing to ask somebody. Now at least that's a little bit crazier to ask because people know UFC, but the sport is MA. MA. Wow. Oh my gosh.
MA.
The see that's from getting hit in the head too much. The sport is MMA. So people just know that fact now. So now we're competing with boxing, with football, with soccer, with all these other different sports, which is a good thing. It's a net positive. It's a net negative when the president of the biggest MMA promotion now dips his feet into slapping for, that's been going on for a minute. Apparently that has more views than I don't know the Queen's inauguration, or I guess he's the king now. And then it's silly. And now he's doing boxing. So we need to bring this out. We need to we need Dana White gone. I'm gonna say it like that. We need Dana White to be we need him to be extradited to Saudi Arabia where he can enjoy his Zuffa boxing. This is done. We can't do this
Who
anymore.
replaces Dana? Kale?
Kale. So
Okay.
Chael Sonnen would be an amazing. I don't think he'll do it. It's one of those. It's like kind of like George Washington. George Washington didn't want to be president. That's kind of how Chael Sonnen would react to being offered the presidency of the UFC. I think Hunter Campbell will be the next UFC president. Hunter Campbell, for people who don't know, he's kind of the guy that's running the UFC right now. It's kind of like how let's think of a sports team
Like Woody Johnson's son.
like the Texans with CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud blows. CJ Stroud sucks. I think this isn't the first time I've said this on this show before. CJ Stroud sucks. General Mills, though, David Mills, who I would hope comes to the New York Jets, possibly, that would be great. David Mills runs that football team. It's like Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader. Who's really pulling the strings? Darth Vader's the face. Emperor Palpatine is the one that's actually doing everything. That's kind of what the UFC is right now. Hunter Campbell, for lack of a better word, he's already the UFC president. He's everything. He does the whole job, just doesn't have the title. So he will probably be the next UFC president. I just don't know how that looks post Dana White. If Hunter also ends up being the head of Zuffa Boxing, if he ends up being the head of Power Slap. I would hope not. I would hope Dana takes that crap with him. But it's one of those things we just have no idea. So, sorry, we went way off track. To the gimmick fights. If this ends up on some intern's desk, please recommend to the UFC. I am a Jake Paul fan. I like Jake Paul. I think what he does is he makes me interested in boxing, and I hate boxing. Mind the Muhammad Ali statue. It's not what it used to be, right? But Bring Jake Paul to the UFC. I don't care who we have to match him up with Conor McGregor, match him up with John Jones, match him up with Ronda Rousey. I don't care. Get Jake Paul to the UFC. I think that would be golden.
Yeah, and I'm again a big fan of the gimmick fights as well. Because even like think about Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. Everyone watched that, and then we all got to be blessed with seeing Mike Tyson's freaking backside on that Netflix live
I
stream.
do remember that. I did
Yeah,
catch that butt. I did catch
yeah,
a lot of
and
butt
so
in that, and it was very awkward.
it was very awkward. And so, but I really, like I said, I think it brings eyes. I think the UFC's got a good thing going on where I feel like the one thing that UFC does better than boxing is they match up the guys with who they have to fight. Love it or hate it in the way that, maybe it takes longer, but like at the end of the day, everybody fights everybody. And I think that's something that the UFC does really good that boxing doesn't really do. I mean, you could win like I think I could be a world champion in boxing. I could win like the belt in like some foreign country. Like I could go to like Papua New Guinea and they're
They
like,
just
"Oh,
they need to make the 6'8" Hispanic 200 pounds pure muscle weight class, and it's just gonna be you and some other guy named Jose, and you're just gonna you're not he's not gonna be a match for you.
no, no, exactly." And especially because I'm going to train, and Jose is going to be unsuspecting of that this is the only other person in the weight class besides me. But okay, anyway, off of the gimmick fights, we talked a little bit about UFC 325 and Volk dog walk Lopez and that fight card. We didn't do our best, but I think let's move on to UFC 326. It's a fresh start. March. We're feeling lucky. St. Patty's Day is coming. I gotta touch on the prelim fight really quick, and I gotta say something. Niam Jargal Tumen de Barrel is a Mongolian fighter. And I'm sorry, Niam Jargal, if I said your name wrong, but
I think it's pretty good. I think
is he the only Mongolian fighter that's ever graced the UFC?
He is not there now. I don't recall his name off the top of my head. But there was, and if you're a UFC fan, you have to be a pretty hardcore fan to know. But there is a gentleman who, like, if you could imagine Genghis Khan in your head, just without like the mustache or whatever he had goatee he had, that like he is like looks as Mongolian as one could possibly look. So he's not the first, but I think he's probably this. He would probably be the second. I can't produce for you the name of another Mongolian fighter, but that Mongolian fighter that I was talking about, I don't remember his name. I'm very, very sorry for that. I wish I could. But he's actually really popular, and I think he's still in the UFC. I don't believe he was cut, but I think he's coming off a loss.
Yeah, that and the other thing of the early cards that I want to talk about is this guy Rodolfo Bellato. We gotta drug test him, and I don't know if he's still fighting or they canceled that one. This guy is not natural. I mean, I've never seen somebody who is more on testosterone than this guy right here. Like, we've got to drug
And
test this guy.
he is the underdog in that fight.
I, I'm sorry, Luke Fernandez. Like, you're probably a great fighter and a great guy. Keep it on the feet, man. If you go down to the ground, he will rip you to shreds. Not because he's a better fighter, but he probably has the most incredible steroid rage ever.
He's on the Vitor Belfort sustenance, whatever Vitor Belfort was having them cook up for him in the back. I know I don't think you know Vitor Belfort, but Vitor Belfort.
I do know Vitor Belfort, but
you do okay.
I do.
So before USADA and all that, there was a mythical fighter called TRT Vitor, and he was a monster. It's TRT Vitor and Horsemeat Alistair Overeem back when Alistair Overeem was called Alistair Ubereem. Both of those guys, like, it was very, very weird, very, very crazy how the human body can get to that level where, like, and I get it. Listen, I look like this, and this is without any TRT, any steroids or anything like that. I know it's impressive, but even still, like, I would say if I was next to one of those guys, you would kind of look at it and be like, well, the guy, the Italian gentleman is a little bit bigger than that guy, but not too much. And that's crazy. That's a crazy thing to have two people like that in the same room that look that way. But sometimes you just can't get like this on steroids or anything. This is all natural. So
Yeah, and then you get the question all the time. I'm sure, are you on TRT? What's your substance, cycling look like? And
well, a lot of times it's actually, do you need more testosterone? And then, man, I get it. I can't grow facial hair. So listen, I'm sure that's why they're asking. And it's not a muscle thing. I do. I have a lot of testosterone in my body. You can tell from my voice. You can tell from the muscles. I don't need any more. If anything, I need a little estrogen just to kind of balance it out. I don't think I have an ounce of it. I only have an ounce of it in my body. And it's just one of those things where yes, I will see a doctor over it eventually, but it's just that time is not yet.
yeah, oozing testosterone over here. And now we need you to put all that testosterone to the test here. No pun intended. And what we're going to be talking about here is we're just going to go straight to the main card. And, we actually have a really good main card. I feel like the last two number cards have been from top to bottom, like main card, very solid. I mean, I know a lot of people were angry with 325 and some of the things that happened, but I thought overall it was a pretty solid card. Let's go ahead and start off. Gregory Rodriguez, Bruno Ferreira.
So, really quick, I have something. So,
Okay.
I prepared a little different this time. I have a little book right here where I have written down a bunch of things. So we will get to that in a moment. I do just want to say really quick, because we're not touching really on the prelims at all. I do this. I've done this for about like 3 years, where I will. How old am I? I've done this for about a year legally. Where I will go and I will make a $1 parlay, and I will just pick money line for each fighter on the entire card. So I know we're not touching on the prelims. I just want to bring this out to you, just so I know we usually say the parlays for the end, but the UFC 326 $1 parlay, and then I'm gonna cut it off at the main card because that's what we'll actually talk about. So I have, again, all moneyline bets. Luke Fernandez, Lee Jung, Rafael Tobias, Jesus Aguilar, shout out, Naiem Jargel,
Yes.
the Mongolian
yes,
fighter,
he has to win.
Alberto Montes, Dante Johnson.
Yeah, Dante's winning that.
Cody Garbrandt, which please, Cody Garbrandt, please, please, please don't lose. I don't know who Long Zhao is, but I looked at his record. I think he's like 21-10. I've
27-10.
27-10. I've never seen this gentleman in my entire life. Please, Cody Garbrandt. You're only 34 years old. I know you have a chin made of the finest glass china, but please do not get chinned by this guy. I don't know who he is.
And they're both coming off losses. So.
They are. So, Gregory Rodriguez and who is this guy? Ferreira.
Ferreira.
Right? It's RoboCop. I don't really know his name other than the Hulk. So it's RoboCop versus the Hulk. That's what I would call this. So, listen, the great thing about MMA is that a lot of the times you use different factors. You don't have to just look at the X and O's. You use other things to determine who's going to win. Gregory Rodriguez kind of looks like Obama. And I know I know, so, you can have your opinions about that, right? But I just think that has to add some sort of pressure on the other guy. He does look like Obama. Because you're essentially in there with a previous world leader. So I think that's really going to have a factor in this fight. I've got RoboCop to win it. He is the favorite. I don't think it's by a lot. I have it minus 198 from according to DraftKings. The only notes I have in this book for that fight is RoboCop, is Obama and Jerk. The Hulk actually is coming off. I don't know if he's coming off of the most recent win. He beat up Marvin Vettori, which for those of you who don't know, Marvin Vettori is the only Italian MMA fighter right now, or at least the only Italian MMA fighter that has a chance to win a belt. And again, as you can see, the beautiful, gorgeous flag in the back. I do not appreciate that he is, I think, on a 3-loss skid. So I really don't like this fella. I'm gonna choose against him. All biases are now known. I got RoboCop by decision. It's gonna be a really good fight. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a knockout. But I think RoboCop is going to be the better boxer. He's a lot more crisp. He's a lot more. He looks like the bigger guy. To be fair, I don't know if that's true. He
Ro-
looks like he's bigger at least.
Rodriguez is 6'3" with about a 75-inch reach, and you got Ferreira's 5'10", 72-inch reach. Ferreira's a
Yeah.
bit heavier, but like
No, I don't. I don't think. I mean by heavier. I mean like in bigger guy. I mean frame wise. You can be a this big fat slob, but if you're in there with the guy who is the same weight as you, and you are just this beautiful cut of stone, you might end up doing a little bit well. Now that's true for every weight class other than heavyweight, but it's regardless. Um, RoboCop, I think he's gonna be the stronger guy. He's got very good wrestling as well, which I don't see him use often because he very rarely needs it. But I'm going to take RoboCop by decision.
okay, okay. Speaking of the heavyweight, there is actually no heavyweight card or fight on the main card this time, which is
Per my
exciting.
request, Dana White heard my prayers and he answered them. I don't want anything to do with the heavyweights for a meaningful amount of time.
Now this next fight, I gotta say, for me, this feels like just kind of like a interesting fight. Drew Dober and Michael Johnson feels just like you go down to the lunchroom and you just see the two dudes that are always fighting in a fight, and you're like, oh, they're always fighting again. These guys, I think, have fought more times in the UFC than anyone else combined.
In terms of like both of them together, possibly. I know Michael Johnson's been there. I think he's probably the longest, like the most elder on the card. In terms of who's been in the UFC the longest, he's probably up there with Oliveira and Max Holloway, and possibly Cody Garbrandt, but I'm not sure. But probably, yeah, probably combined, yeah, they probably have they're probably longer than anybody else on the card. Um, okay, we're gonna mention this because I feel like it's worth mentioning. Because as I said, fights are not always about the X's and O's. There is a statistic that is very, very popular in MMA circles regarding Drew Dober. He's been around a lot. I've seen nearly all of his UFC fights. Right, I'm very big on Drew Dober. Michael Johnson, I'm very big on him. I picked him to win over Alexander Hernandez back on the first pod. And that fight unfortunately fell through. I think I would have been right. Regardless, there's a big chance Michael Johnson wins this fight. Drew Dober coming off a loss. Um,
Drew Dober's coming off a win.
Drew Dober coming off a win. Is he? Who was his last fight? Okay, sorry. I completely forgot. Pripolek or wherever that was. I think he was a Canadian. Um, and he won that fight by knockout. I remember that now. Okay. So I'm remembering unfortunately the John Silva loss and all that. So, but there is a statistic about Drew Dober. Drew Dober, in his professional MMA career, has never lost to a gentleman of African American descent.
Oh.
I feel like it's worth mentioning. I just feel like that should be put out there. It's kind of like how I said, like the fighting nerds, one of them wins, all of them wins. I would pick Michael Johnson. In any other case, I'm a huge Michael Johnson fan. He's 39 years old and he's faster than your 5-year old running out the door when you leave it open. I'm going to pick Drew Dober by knockout.
You know what? That's there. I would say in sports, there's these statistics that there are, and it's just sometimes you can't fight natural cause.
No,
And
no.
whatever the reason Drew Dober is undefeated in those circumstances is, he is undefeated. And I actually kind of would pick Michael Johnson. I feel like if there was ever somebody to end it, it would be Michael Johnson.
And that's completely respectable. That is completely respectable. I'm a little bit of a historian. I'm very bad about going disputing historical trends. I usually will go with the history. So I've got Drew Dober by knockout. No particular round, but drew it over by knockout.
Yeah. And now next fight, Rob Font, Rosas Jr. Font's the seasoned contender. Chris boxing, great UFC tenure so far. While Rosas Jr., young guy, definitely in contention for future CTE. He is kind of fearless. He's got the Chi-Chi's walk. I think that gives him bonus points in this fight. Talk to me though. What do you have?
I think Chihuihuis is going to do great things. I think we are going to hear that at the end of the night. Here's the thing. I'm a big Rob Font fan. I think the problem with this is that uh, Raul Rojas Jr. has really grown into himself. I think he's very different than that 19-year-old kid who was debuting just a few years ago. Who, by the way, won. He won his UFC debut.
Mm-hmm.
The only loss he has in the UFC is to Christian Rodriguez, and you know it's one of those things. Listen, if you're in the top tier of the top tier, which is supposedly that's the UFC. The UFC is supposed to be the best of the best, regardless of ranking. Whether you're in the top 15 or the bottom 100, you're still supposed to be an elite fighter. Christian Rodriguez is an elite fighter. I think he's very, very good. I think he's a journeyman, and I see a lot more talent out of Raul Rojas Jr. But listen, I think it's as simple as, can Rob Font avoid the grappling monster? And there's nothing in his previous fights to suggest he can't. All of his losses, they've been just because he's been outboxed, which is crazy because Rob Font for a moment he was like the boxer. Like he was so good. Rob Font also beat the crap out of my favorite fighter, Adrian Yanez. So that kind of makes me a little salty as well.
A lot of bias in this
And
card.
a little bit of bias on this card, yes. And I watched. I got to see Rob Font live as well when he was in. I think he fought in Nashville, so I think I saw him live then. Because I think he fought Corey Sandhagen, and Corey Sandhagen did wrestle Rob Font for all 5 rounds. So I guess that is one area where he has struggled a little bit. But it's a different fight than that. I think Raul Ross Jr. is shown a lot of. He's grown in the areas he needed to. He's grown into his frame. He looks a whole lot stronger than he was. He's been a legit guy since he's been in here, but he's finally kind of gaining the grown man size. I say that knowing that I'm a year older than him, and he
Way bigger.
he mogs me terribly. And it's just one of those unfortunate things where I was not born Brazilian, so I don't get. Oh, sorry,
He's Mexican.
Mexican. I was not born Mexican either, so I don't get to have that cool fighting genes. The Roman Empire days are long gone, and now I'm supposed to be a baker. So it is what it is. Give me Chihuihuis by submission.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I've had a long day when I called his walk Los Chichis. Like, what the
Yeah,
heck is
I was gonna say, what are you talking about? I thought that was some kind of
I had a long day when I called that. Like, I just, as soon as I said it, I was like, that's not right, but we're just gonna roll
What
with
does
it.
that mean? What did that even mean? I'm assuming you were referring to Chihuihui.
Chihuihuis, yes, that's what I meant to say in my head. It's one of those things,
Yeah.
no, not kale. I say that on purpose. Now, do you think, in just
Yeah.
really quick sidebar here, if we got Chael Sonnen on the show, that
We had Chael Sonnen on the show.
and I called him Kale, and I said, hey man, like, what do you think? Do you think he would beat my ass?
He wouldn't have to because I would do it for him. I would drive to your residence. I would pull you out of there. I would knock on your neighbor's door. I would say, "Hey, look at this guy." And I'd smack you in the back of the head while holding you by your collar. It wouldn't even be a contest. Listen, if Chael Sonnen was on this show, you and my Mike would be, wow. Why? What is going on with my English today? our mics would be muted and our ears would be open. Okay, we would sit back and listen. That is the first and only and final say in the sport of MMA. So that is what would happen if he was on the show. But
So
I would beat you senseless.
chill. I know we've had a tough start here. If you want to come on the show,
He's never coming. He's
no,
not coming
he's
on,
never.
man.
He's gonna in the one instance he would ever come on, he would open up Disputed episode 1 and hear me call him Kale about 46 times, and then immediately feel so disrespected and never ever come
He
on.
would, yeah, I mean, listen, he fought five guys at one time and like destroyed all of them. Like the police had to come in and escort him out. And you know what? He's just those police officers are lucky that he took grace on them and he
Yeah.
let them escort him out. So, Chael Sonnen, huge fan. Uh, Honestly, please don't come on this show because I'm afraid that you're gonna be really mean to
It's gonna go from hero to like, oh, I actually don't really know if I
me.
like the
You're
guy.
like, don't, yeah, I know. I keep stumbling on my words. No, I know. I don't ever look at the camera right. I'm sorry, Chael.
Sorry, I'm just so shy.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sonnen. I will only refer to you as Mr. Sonnen from now on. I understand.
Okay, moving on. And I don't know how to say this guy's name, but like Ciao Borraio.
Kyle Borhallo.
Hayo. Shout out my Brazilian dons. And
Mm-hmm.
Rainier de Ritter. Or de Ritter.
I'll
He's the
simplify that. We call him RDR.
RDR. I call him the next loser.
I do too. So this is an interesting one because Rene de Ritter was on like a generational run in 2025. He fought four times, and he finally lost to, of course, the greatest journeyman, the next best fighter to never win a belt, Braylon Allen. Also salty because he beat up on Marvin Vettori. You lost in the street though. Marvin Vettori did win that street fight. But he did lose in the cage, which is where unfortunately it mattered. Listen, that was a joke, Braylon Allen. Please don't beat me up. Or Brandon Allen, not Braylon Allen.
I'll say Braylon Allen. I'll say
running back for the Jets.
Jets running back.
Brandon Allen. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. But Brandon Allen is there's a lot of Jets propaganda just fueling this episode. I think it's because
Yeah.
Brees Hall got franchise tag today. Um, Brendan Allen beat him up finally on his fourth fight in 2025. It was a knockout, I think, in the first round. Listen, say what you want. I'm not going to use that against him. He fought four times in a year, which I believe was like January to May, May to July, and then July to October. It's something I'm in the ballpark with those months. He fought a lot. That's very, very hard on your body. That's very, very hard on just your mental. You're gonna drop one, and so he's 3-1 on that year. He beat Robert Whitaker by split decision. I thought he won that fight pretty clearly. He got sent into the stratosphere from beating Bo Nickel because Bo Nickel was kind of that guy everybody was talking about. Oh, he's gonna beat Chimaev. Oh, another fighter that's never coming back. By the way, Hazmat Chimaev, book it. So I think I'm choosing Kyle Barhalio because I feel like it's just he's better. I think he is what Paulo Costa walked, so Kyle Barhalio could run. I think it's also going back to what I said before. When one fighting nerd wins, they all win, and it's a very strange phenomenon. I assure you, it will be upheld on Saturday night.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I just took a look at both of them, and this is my expert analysis here. I took a look at both of their pictures, and I went with Borjayo. RDR, you seem like a great guy. I bet you'd be real fun to grab a drink with and just chop it up and kind of share stories about our great careers so far.
He does not drink. Actually, he's a Mormon.
That's really awkward, RDR. So we could drink water and talk about I mean, okay, never mind. Anyway, moving on to the main card, the main event. Sorry, shall I say? Now this one been a rematch years in the making. Holloway and Oliveira first met a long time ago. I think it was like around 2015, if I'm correct there.
Possibly, possibly.
And Oliveira left with an injury.
Yes, he is actually. It's honestly that is like the one of the worst injuries. Now, obviously, you have like the Anderson Silva, Conor McGregor, Chris Weidman leg break, where
Yes.
everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, that is the craziest thing I've ever seen." Um, I believe with Charles Oliveira, it was something along the lines of his uvula like split open. Like it was something. It was a throat injury to like where it's something split open in his throat. Whether it was, I don't know if it was uvula or if it was his because uvula is like that little dangling thing on the back of your in the back of your mouth. I don't remember what exactly the injury was, but you see him like holding his throat. I mean that injury scared me more than I think really any other injury has. Like the leg break, at least okay, it's a bone. Obviously, it's a little bit more than that, but you see that, you can understand what it is. Dude just like chokes up and falls on the canvas. That is a scary,
Yeah.
scary injury.
Yeah, and now you could say they're both veterans of the UFC game. Holloway, former champ, the BMF title holder. Oliveira, former champ, wants the BMF belt. Question is, will he get it? And that is the
Esophageal
question.
tear. It was an esophageal tear. That's what it was. I believe it ended up not being that. But anyway, okay. Would you like to give your opinion on this? Because I actually have an extensive thing to say about this.
Yeah, and so I'll give a quick opinion, and this is really all you're gonna need to hear, folks, because this is obviously what it is. I will never, ever, 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 ever bet against Max Holloway. I think, I may be a casual, but I think he's one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. I'm tuned in every time the guy fights. Like, he is cinema. I feel like, for me, and I've been getting into the sport more recently, so, I'm hoping I can, stop being a casual by next year, but I feel like it's still too early. Max Holloway is absolute cinema. And Charles Oliveira is absolute cinema to get knocked out. I just feel like Oliveira, like, he's like, everyone's like, oh, do Bronx, do Bronx. He's gonna go to sleep when Max Holloway chins him in round two. And that's all I have to say on the matter.
Okay, that's fine. So let me take you guys back. I don't remember what month. I don't really remember what year, but I believe it might have been 2021. I could be completely wrong, but I believe it was um, either 2021 or 2020. But let me get to the point. Habib leaves. Habib Nurmagomedov leaves the 155 division, and there's this hole that is in everyone's heart. 155 was the perennial division. It was the top tier of the top tier. That's what everybody was into. Everybody was interested in what the movement was going to be, whether it was going to be Tony Ferguson versus Habib, or if Conor McGregor was going to come back, or if Dustin Poirier was going to get another shot, or if Max Holloway was going to move up, or whatever the case may have been. And the vacant lightweight title fight, it gets announced. Michael Chandler, who just came from Bellator, chinned Dan Hooker in round one of their fight on his UFC debut. And the journeyman, Charles Oliveira. And everybody said, and now Charles Oliveira, for granted, he was the favorite in that fight, a slight favorite. But the real message was Charles Oliveira is a quitter. Charles Oliveira is going to get in this fight with Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler, a big, strong guy, wrestler, throws a lot of heavy punches. He's going to catch Oliveira, and Oliveira is going to do what he's done in every other fight, and he's going to quit. He finds the easy way out. Michael Chandler knocked him down, and Charles Oliveira got back up. And in the second round, Charles Oliveira knocked Michael Chandler out to win the vacant lightweight title. Fast forward again. Charles Oliveira versus Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier, he's been the guy forever. He's always been the number 2, but he just can't get the belt because whoever has it is this elite guy. But now it's done. It's over. He has it all right in front of him because he has to face Charles Oliveira for the belt. And Charles Oliveira, yeah, okay, he had a pretty good win against Michael Chandler, but he's at the end of the day a journeyman. He's nothing special. He's a quitter. He's going to face Dustin Poirier, and Dustin Poirier is this crisp boxer. He was only compared to Max Holloway. And he's going to get this done. He's going to knock Charles Oliveira out. And Oliveira, he's going to find this easy way out. It doesn't matter where it goes. Charles Oliveira will quit. Charles Oliveira submitted Dustin Poirier to defend the lightweight belt. Fast forward after that. Justin Gaethje, oh my gosh, he had this incredible head kick knockout of Dustin Poirier. Who knocks out Dustin Poirier? I believe that was the first time since Conor McGregor did it. That is unbelievable. He knocks him out cold. That's the champion. That is the uncrowned champion. Okay? Justin Gaethje is too much for Charles Oliveira. He's going to go in there. He's going to walk him down. Charles Oliveira doesn't have the skills necessary to handle Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is going to go in there, and he's going to stop Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira submits Justin Gaethje, second round. So I provide for you this. This is another match where you look at whoever the opponent of Charles Oliveira is and you say, what does Charles Oliveira have to win this fight? You know, Max Holloway, yeah, he's a phenomenal boxer. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt. Charles Oliveira, yeah, he's good, I guess. He was a lightweight champion. Bronx was funny. Whatever. But he's not good enough to beat Max Holloway, and I provide for you this. Charles Oliveira is the guy. Charles Oliveira has the skills, and I'm tired of pretending he doesn't. I'm tired of pretending like he's not this phenomenal fighter. In every matchup, when it comes to the belt, he has been the underdog, excluding the vacant title shot. But he has been the underdog every time, and every time he comes through. Okay, Charles Oliveira has never let me down before, and he will not let me down now. Give me Charles Oliveira by decision. He's got this. Okay, do Bronx, Viva Brazil. Okay, he's got it. Illuminated by God, Charles Oliveira will win the lightweight title.
You conveniently forgot that fight against a guy named Ilia Topuria.
I thought you were going to bring up Islam Makhachev. Listen, so yes,
Well,
there are
Oliveira got
when
chinned in round one.
yes, and he did. But you also forget who else just got chinned? Max Holloway. Max Holloway got chinned by Ilia Topuria. Everybody gets chinned.
That's true. Everybody gets chinned by Ilia.
Everybody gets taken down and submitted by Islam Makhachev, unless you're Alexander Volkanovski. Listen, it's one of those things, man. You know, it's going to be a very, very good fight. And when you look at just the tangibles, you got to pick Max Holloway. You got to, because I mean, what really he's got this amazing knockout over Justin Gaethje. Every fight starts on the feet, right? Every round starts on the feet. So you can't figure like, okay, Charles Oliveira is going to come out and he's going to land these clean, crisp shots and his boxing's better. And I would even argue Max Holloway's boxing was better against Ilia Topuria until he got caught. And Charles Oliveira only needs one. He only needs one time because he's not a quitter. He capitalizes when the moment is right. He does it every time in every fight. It doesn't matter from the beginning to his career to now. Look at every fight he's been in. Yes, in the past, when it's been hard, he's been out, right? But I submit for you, when it gets opposite, right? When he gets that opportunity, he runs for it. He sprints for it. I think Charles Oliveira has a lot of pressure. I think that's what we're going to see in this. Is it's what Max Holloway's downfall was when it came to Ilia Topuria. Charles Oliveira, he has a lot of power. You got to look at the Michael Chandler fight versus Justin Gaethje. He didn't knock him down. Michael Chandler did not knock down Justin Gaethje, and Michael Chandler has crazy power. Charles Oliveira lands clean, he lands crisp, and he's got enough power that I think he sits Max Holloway down, and I think he does that, and then he takes advantage of a very, very good situation. I listen. I'm a very big Charles Oliveira fan. That's really what it comes down to. I love Max Holloway too, but I see it. I see it clear as day. Give me Charles Oliveira.
Okay, and now I want to give you a few hot takes for the card for UFC 326. I feel like we have a great card here ahead of us. I'm just going to kind of give you some hot takes, and I want you to say, yeah, it's hot and I agree with it, or I disagree with it, and just let me know kind of what you think on it. So, first take, Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira. It's a nostalgic fight, but more than a nostalgia fight, it's a relevancy fight. Both are legends, but the division is younger, getting younger, and more ruthless by the minute. Does the loser of this fight go into irrelevancy after?
No, no, and I think the reasoning is it for one, it helps that Gaethje won. It helps that Gaethje won that belt because it keeps both of them relevant. Max Holloway, if he loses, he's got the win over Justin Gaethje. Charles Oliveira, if he loses, he's got the win over Justin Gaethje. So he's got kind of a shoe in everywhere. And even still, you kind of got to look at like if it's not Oliveira and it's not Max Holloway, who's next? Because we thought like Gaethje versus Pimblett, right? I at least thought it was going to end up being Pimblett versus Topuria, and then whoever won that was going to end up facing, I believe it would be Saryukian because I think Saryukian is at 155. I could be totally wrong, and he could be at 145. This is why, even though I'm a hardcore fan, I sometimes blank on these things because they all start to. I think I get him and Mosfar Evaloyev confused. So I think it's Armin Saryukian, but Armin Saryukian, he doesn't have the draw. He just doesn't have that factor. And quite frankly, I really don't think he is as good as everybody thinks he is. Everybody thinks he's the only one that has a shot at Topuria. I don't think that's the case. But nevertheless, you got to kind of look at who is the up-and-comers at 155, and you got to compare them to that level of talent. I don't think anybody really in the top 15, or at least below where Oliveira and Max Holloway rank, I don't think they have that same talent. I don't think they are as good or as experienced or ready for that kind of commitment to race towards the title. I think we're in a little bit of a rotation where it's entirely possible Topuria just beats all of these guys away, or it's a case of that title changes hands around the same few people. Those people being Oliveira, Holloway, and Gaethje. No, I don't think it's a thing where they fade into irrelevancy, especially because the good thing about it being a BMF title fight is whoever loses, as long as you didn't lose by like decision, it's like one of those things. Now you can still win if it's a good, or you can still like be okay if it's a good fight and you lose by decision. But like it's the BMF belt. Like the whole point is that you die for this, and I think that's what both of those guys are going to do. So no, I don't think either one of them faded to.
Yeah, and that actually perfectly goes into my next take for you. The BMF belt is on trial. It was born, I think it was UFC 244, but critics could say it's a gimmick. If the main event becomes any sort of sluggish tactical chess match, the belt loses its juice, no? So, does this fight have to be cinema for the BMF brand to stay relevant?
So it's unfortunate because when you look back at when the BMF title inaugural fight happened, it was Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal, who those were those guys, like those were the BMFs, and that fight ended up by doctor stoppage, which I have my own view of personally. I would have rather it be a fresh knockout for sure. But how cool is it, right? You beat this guy up enough that's so that someone else, a third party, has to come in and stop that match. I think that's BMF caliber, but it's neither here nor there. The unfortunate reality of the situation is that that's not just the BMF title. That's every title. If you don't win the belt by some like crazy fashion, it seems like a lot of people kind of call for your head. When it comes to the BMF belt, it's never a thing where it'll ever like fade away. I don't think we'll ever see the BMF belt not be a thing, because I think it's just one of those things of it was created for the sake of selling a card. It helps that there's no division attached to it, so there's no reason to like wait for a champion. So there's never going to be like like we'll never have to do a interim BMF champion. It's just going to be whoever has that belt, they defend it against this guy. I think it's a good concept. I do think that you can't have it be like you can't do anything twice, right? Or at least like it can't happen. It can't happen twice. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. It can't be boring twice because if it's boring twice, then nobody really wants to see it. But then you start looking at, well, who has it? So I think it's less of the title and more of the title holder. But it's never something that will ever go away. I think it's too valuable to the UFC. And I honestly think expect more gimmick titles like that.
Yeah. No, I kind of agree with you there. I think it will be interesting, but I do think, it sells, right? It brings some hype to the fight. I think you'll see more of it. I do have one more hot take, but I kind of have another segment I want to get into, and I think this is going to get you going a lot. So I think I really want to get in there. So, a lot of world events have been happening. World Cup is coming. Different sorts of things are happening. So I want to pose you a game here. I have a 4-country tournament. I've picked 2 fighters from each country. And, this is going to be country versus country knockout stage. So the 1 seed is the United States. The 2 seed is Russia. The 3 seed is Brazil. And the 4 seed is the United Kingdom. And now, I'm going to give you each matchup. So we have our semifinal matchup here. Right, so matchup 1 is the United States versus Great Britain. Now, the fighters I have chosen for the States are John Jones and Sean O'Malley. And the fighters I have chosen for the UK are Leon Edwards and Tom Aspinall.
Okay.
Who wins in this round 1 exhibition?
So, okay. I gotta know a little bit of the rules. So is this like 2-on-2?
It's 2-on-2, 2-on-2 fighting. They're both in the ring together.
Yeah. So I honestly think it's one of these cases where if we're not talking like weight parity, where it's like everybody is weighing the same exact amount, that's really hard not to give that to the UK. I mean, Sean O'Malley is not a big guy. He's not, and again, I mean frame. He's not a very big guy. Obviously, you have John Jones, where you would think, okay, this is the LeBron, this is the Jordan, this is the Ronaldo. He's the guy. He's going to beat everybody. I submit for you though, weight matters, and yes, John is the most talented fighter that has ever walked this earth. But he's also 40 years old. But he's also, been out of the cage for a while. And he's also got no partner. This is a 2-on-1 now. And yeah, okay, say John Jones kicks Leon Edwards' head into the nosebleeds, sure, but like, and again, it goes back to what I also believe is that I think Tom Aspinall beats John Jones. I think it's a power thing, and I think it's a size thing. Where even heavyweight John Jones against Stipe Miocic, yes, he looks pretty good, but he's not that fast at heavyweight. He's not as fast as he was when he was younger, and listen, now what I can also say is there's two sides of this. Let's go with what the information we have now, which is Tom Aspinall is blind. So because Tom Aspinall is currently blind, I've got to give it to the United States because it's basically a 2v1. Leon Edwards is going to be like getting held down by John Jones and just like kicked over and over again by Sean O'Malley, while Tom Aspinall is running into the side of the cage. Like he's like, where are you? Let me help. Like he's going to be in a distressing manner. So I have to give it to the United States because if I'm considering all these current factors, I have to consider the fact that Tom Aspinall currently reads in Braille. I have to consider that.
No, that's fair enough. I didn't even consider that, and so that I for a second I thought the UK was going to get an upset, and I felt like I had to pair somebody who I personally think is a massive liability with John Jones. So that's why I went
Yeah,
with
I
Sean
understand.
O'Malley because I know that if it ever gets to the ground, the United States probably lose. It would have to be a John Jones masterclass. Now this one, I'm very interested to see your take on this because you mentioned a lot about weight, but I think I've got a pretty good matchup, and weight considered, this is going to be very interesting. So we have Brazil versus Russia. Now this is going to be a good one. I could have went a lot of different ways here, but I decided to go Alex Pereira in Do Bronx, your guy Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makachev in Kazmat.
Uh, uh, well, okay, so luckily, right, we can at least say we've seen that fight before with Islam and Charles. Um, yeah, it's unfortunate. So what you would hope for if you're Brazil, if you're Team Brazil, is that they just go in and they like Alex just kind of goes on the forefront and he knocks Hamzat Chimaev out pretty quick before Islam Makachev just like runs him over, and then Charles Oliveira comes in from behind and like chokes him out or something like that. Probably what unfortunately is going to happen is that they're both just going to get eaten alive. Those unfortunate Russian bears are too strong. Um, Nobody tests the grappling on Alex on Poetan, so unfortunate situation for my goat. I love Poetan as well, so that I hate to say it. Especially because I do get the size thing, and Pierre is big, but when you have like they're basically just gonna like both pick up Charles Oliveira and throw him out of the octagon, and then they're just gonna go and like you know blanket Alex Pieta. So give me the Russians. It's very unfortunate, but I think the Russians take that.
Well, now that sets us up with a tale as old as time: the United States versus Russia. And honestly, I don't like how it looks for the United States. John Jones and Sean O'Malley versus Islam Makachev and Hamzat Chimaev.
Sean O'Malley plants marijuana on both Islam Makhachev and Hamzat Chimaev. They both go to jail, get the death penalty, and U.S. wins. America on top. Let's go, baby. We win this. In actuality, again, you have John Jones. So realistically, all you need is Sean O'Malley to just do something. What can Sean O'Malley do in this situation? So he's got these two huge guys. Let's say the plan is both just one on one. That can't happen, right? So they got to make a new plan. John Jones has to take both of these guys on at the same time. Sean O'Malley, his best bet, if we got to do a one-on-one, I think he's faster than Islam Makhachev or Khamzat Chimaev. So I think what you do is you tag your it and run around the octagon. You run around the octagon, you tire him out while John Jones deals with one of them. John Jones will deal with Khamzat Chimaev while Islam Makhachev chases Sean O'Malley around the ring. And then Islam Makhachev, he's brother, I tired, brother. I need Eagle to fly me away, brother. And then John Jones goes and he tests the grappling. He sends him back to Dagestan, 3 years, one phone call. So, listen, if we take it like that, I think the U.S. has a pretty good chance.
So you have the USA taking our first ever World Cup UFC 326 disputed World Cup event.
I have the United States winning the MMA duos event, at the Olympic gold medal in MMA duos. Yes.
Okay, no, I like that, and I think I'm gonna try for every
and
card.
And then we lose the medal because John Jones pops steroids, and then the medal goes to the Russians anyway. So it was all for nothing.
It's a reverse Olympic story, and so I think I'm gonna try to bring you some of these, theories. So, get these countries involved. Got to throw you some different combinations. See how you feel about the fight. Really test your fighting analysis. But before we end the episode, there's one thing that the people have been waiting for. Your guaranteed lock
time for me to redeem myself
of the week. Joey, give me your UFC 326 luck. Let's hear it.
So we had the $1 parlay, and listen, if that hits, by the way, I wrote this down. It's $1 to win $971. So I would be a very lucky man if that hits. I've never hit on it before. It's probably harder than getting the March Madness picks right, but.
And now, really quick for the people, so that way we can get it clipped up for them. You give it to me right now, the $1 parlay. Go, and then give me your next parlay right after, and just.
So, UFC 326 $1 parlay. We've got all money line. Luke Fernandez, Lee Jong Young, Rafael Tobias, Jesus Aguilar, Najim Nyamjurgul, Alberto Montez, Dante Johnson, Cody Garbrandt, Gregory Rodriguez, Drew Dober, Raul Rojas Jr., Caio Borralho, Charles Oliveira. The parlay.
Now this is what people have been waiting for.
The parlay for UFC 326. Official Bench Talk Disputed Parlay. Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira, over 2.5 rounds. Drew Dober versus Michael Johnson, under 1.5 rounds. Raul Rojas Jr. via submission, and Caio Borralho via knockout. That is $10 to win you $678. If I get that money, I'm probably going to buy like a futon to put in here so I don't have to sit on this office chair.
No, and so that's great because that's the goal, is the parlays fund our podcast setups. And now, I do not bet. I cannot bet. So just throwing that out there for anybody that is a federal employee watching, I do not. I'm in a state where you cannot do that. So I do not do these things. I just bring knowledge to people who can do this. So I also want to get in on the fun. I've got Max Holloway, money line. I got Borralho, money line. I've got Rob Font to go the distance. That fight's gonna go the distance. I just think that fight's going the distance. I have nothing.
I can feel it. Yeah.
Funny, nothing fun there. And then last, but not least, Nuryang Debarol, the Mongolian guy in the prelim to money line, and that is my parlay there. The casual parlay.
Yeah. Listen, they're both very good. You guys don't understand how lucky you are to get, whether it's my MMA knowledge or his parlay knowledge, his betting knowledge, whatever the case may be. You guys are very, very lucky, and we do it all for you. It's all free to watch. So You're very welcome for all of this. I hope you use this responsibly. And yeah, that's really all I got.
Yeah, and gotta say thank you again for tuning in, and this pod is always so fun to do. I mean, we don't get to do it enough because Dana White only schedules one per month. But that being said, UFC 327, we will be back. And again, thank you for watching. If you made it this far, please like, share it with your friends, your mom, Chael Sonnen, if you made it
Your
here,
friends' moms,
your friends' moms,
your mom's friends,
and your mom's friends, and Chael Sonnen again, if you've made it
and
this far,
And Chael Sonnen's mom.
and Chael
Let's
Sonnen's
just go
mom,
with
if you've
it.
made it this far. Again, please, please tell your son. We'd love to have him on the pod. I think, I feel like we should make up. Like I feel like again, like it was a rough start. I was calling you Kale. That wasn't
He's
me.
so sorry. He's so sorry,
That
Mr.
wasn't me.
Sonnen.
I didn't mean to do that. That wasn't
He's
me.
very sorry.
That was not me. The people told me to do it. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Until next time, that was Disputed.